Call this meeting the Wayne County Commissioners order. Any corrections or addition to the minutes?
Move for approval.
Second.
Unanimous.
Roll call.
Oh, that's right.
Beth,
Yep.
did you get my teeny tiny fixes? There were
I'm
just,
sure I did.
just a couple, the time of day, and then on page 2, line 2.
Perhaps you laid them on my desk while I was crossing.
Oh, no, I sent it by email.
Okay.
Time of day was 1:30 PM instead of 9:30, and then page 2, line 2, there was a little transposition. It should be 10-day instead of day 10. Other than that, they were perfect.
Want to call the roll?
Mr. Burns, roll call vote. Your vote, please.
Aye.
Mrs. Butters.
Aye.
Mr. Powell.
Aye, unanimous. Mary Ann, we have some bills here today.
Okay.
Let's do the others.
Let's do
before
the
we go to
easy ones.
Right, there we go.
Okay, move for approval of payroll dated April 9th.
Second.
Want to call the roll?
Yes, I will. Mr. Burns.
Aye.
Mrs. Butters.
Aye.
Mr. Powell.
Aye,
Thank you.
passed.
Move for approval of jury duty dated March 10th.
Second.
Mr. Burns, your vote.
Aye.
Mrs. Butters.
Aye.
Mr. Powell.
Aye, passed.
Okay, now, we have some questions of the auditor finding the claims from the health clinic.
This is that one.
Yeah, can you put your finger on that particular claim, Ken?
Why don't we ask Kimberly about it and,
I have,
oops.
I have copies of these.
Well, I don't want to sign them yet,
Oh.
because we have some.
That's the one. that
Because
she's got a question.
when I received your email regarding a question specifically about paying the consultant for May Consulting, Beth Ann's company did bill for April, which I think, this is April, and that, I think, the $5,833, I think that's customary to pay that. But the health clinic, which, by the way, has got their certification, FQHC, and June 1.
Great.
They are fully
Qualified.
FQHC, so that's
That's
very
great.
good news.
They're going to get a HRSA grant.
Yes, they are full in, so that's very good news. And I think in the excitement and the desire to clean up all of the loose ends, I think the billing that came forward, as it was explained to me, as soon as I got your email, I thought, oh my gosh, let's not have any rocky spots,
Right.
bumps in the road. So I contacted Eric and asked him to explain each of those questions that you posed. And he said, oh my gosh, we're just trying to clean up all the loose ends.
Which I figured is what
Right.
they were trying to do, but doing
And
my job, we cannot prepay
So they've asked
for
if you would
services.
hold up the May billing of $5,833. So if you could
Okay.
find that.
We can take that one off.
So I move to approve, well, let's go for it. So May billing in advance was error. They apologized. They didn't mean to bill that in advance.
Okay.
They're just trying to clean up all the loose ends and move forward. So they want you to withhold that and have that in the May billing.
Sure will.
But come June 1, and that was just haste makes waste. So they want to withhold that. Now, they did say, and you saw the response that I got from the clinic, they do feel they really need to pay their law firm for all the legal, for the required retainer, and they did say they do expect to have, this was for the entire transition.
Okay.
And the transition has been, as Ron can attest, somewhat complicated. And however, they do think that they will have a refund. And how that refund is processed and exactly when that is processed, I expect full transparency on that, and whether that happens before or after.
Which law firm are they talking about?
Baker.
Fager Baker?
Yes. Here, you want to see, did you have the copy?
He's got a
You showed
copy
him the,
I forwarded everything last night to all three of you. I don't think Ron had access to his email last night.
okay, because this just all happened yesterday.
Yes, when I was taking a look at the commissioner's report that had been printed up for today, it's been pretty crazy in my office, and these jumped out at me as being larger sums of money that we are paying out for this, and I just wanted to bring it to your attention that we would be paying out the $20,000 retainer fee for Fager Baker, and then also the $60,000 was to Health Consulting Strategies for the transition.
For whom?
Health Consulting Strategies for the transition to WellCare for the new FQHC. And I'm just doing my due diligence and bringing it to your attention
Now,
Well-
that these could be, the ones that were clearly labeled May would be prepay, which
These-
we've already taken
Right,
care
they
of.
want
But
to
then I want
withhold
to
that
make
till
sure
May.
that these would not be construed as prepay as well.
Well, another part of the problem is I think certainly the health consulting lacks specificity and itemization
Yes.
of the billing, and that's something that you'd get dinged on.
Yes,
I'm okay with the Fager Baker.
you're okay with
I
Fager?
think their
Okay.
services have already probably begun, so I don't really think it's prepaying.
Okay,
And they will, in due course, I think, provide an itemized statement.
Mm-hmm.
But you need to let whoever over there, Julie, know that it does have to be itemized.
we do, okay, I can do that.
And by itemization, my clients have been dinged, and I have to show the date, the item that I did, and the number of hours I did it on that day. So it's a daily itemization.
Okay,
I understand it's a retainer for services already begun, similar to a construction project where we may allow the first draw on a construction contract to take place at the time of staging and, just the beginning of it. So it may or may not accurately reflect the pace, the
Okay.
stage of where they are in the work completed. But the others will definitely need that itemization, even though I don't have any reason to question it other than that.
okay,
Is this the first billing from Health Consulting Services?
for this amount of money,
Money,
yes.
yeah. I would
All the
agree.
past
I mean,
invoices usually
60,000
have
it says consulting.
the date,
And then
the
consulting.
month, and then a total number of hours
Here,
worked
let's see if we have these.
per the consultant's name.
Yeah.
Do you want us to obtain that, or will you do that?
I will send it, and I will send an email requesting that information, and I will CC you guys on that, and then if I am having trouble gathering that information, I may reach out to you again.
Okay, that's fine.
So our motion to approve this, you feel, should be
To exclude the May.
approve the bill, the claims with the exception of the 60,000
The 60,000 to Health Consulting Strategies, the
and the
5,000.
$5,833.33 for the
Yes.
May billing for Beth Ann's contract.
Yes, and I believe there's a $5,000 technical service fee for May, if I believe that's
I mean, really, they ought to be working off, at a minimum, engagement letters, if not an outright services contract.
Yeah,
I mean, just as our firm has a contract that you have a copy of.
right.
Right.
If there is such a thing, you should have a copy of that, too.
Well, I'd ask for it, because if you're gonna get audited, the state board's gonna ask you for it. Let me see where the invoice, it just
Yes.
says consulting, $60,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so if you have that in April, you would be, it would be less complex in getting that in April than it would be, say, in August or October. Right, so best to get it now, so
Yeah.
then you could come back in May, or maybe even still in April, when we could get this resolved. But you will obtain that documentation.
Yes.
But as for right now, we withhold the May claims
3, yep.
and the
It's 3 claims to Health Consulting
Health
Strategies.
Consulting Strategies. So I move to approve the claims dated, I think these are in the claims dated April 8th,
Yes,
of with the exception of withholding the May advance payments and the
60,000
health,
for
the
transition.
$60,000 to health consulting services pending further
Itemized
documentation.
And those funds were intended to come out of the program income account,
The 10,000 was coming out of the,
There's actually an email that you could ask.
106 or whatever it is.
let's see, the 10,000 that we just discussed is coming out of the FQHC grant, and the others are coming out of the health center program income.
Program income. There's a motion, is there?
Here, Mary Ann?
I move
Should read the
that.
motion.
You hear that, Denny? We're looking for a
Yes.
second.
Yes, I will second.
All right, call the roll, please.
Mr. Burns, your vote?
Aye.
Mrs. Butters?
Aye.
Mr. Powell?
Aye, passed.
Okay, I also move to approve claims dated March 11th.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Jenny Burns?
Aye.
Mary Ann Butters?
Aye.
Ken Powell?
Aye, passed.
Here, do you want this? This gives some documentation on the others.
Yes,
Kim,
thank
before we
you.
let you get away, now that the application for WellCare has been approved, I think now we need to initiate contact with URSA as to the disposition of monies in the program income account at the time the project period expires. So you might want to talk to
Okay.
Mr. Plaster, and I know we don't want to have meetings we don't have to, but if we could have arranged for such a meeting, and I know if I try to get URSA to talk to me, that ain't gonna work.
Gotcha. I will see what I can get taken care of. Okay. Thank you.
You just lay them down someplace and I'll get them.
All right. Thank you very much.
You're entirely welcome.
Okay, thank you. Tried to get that resolved, but it just
Okay.
wouldn't.
Sheriff Redder, I talked to him yesterday, he will be coming here. I thought he'd be here by now. He is looking to purchase automobiles. We had a long talk yesterday about the purchases. We talked about COVID-19 and a budget and what we're anticipating for next year in 2021. He informed me, I forget, it's either 5 or 6 cars he's looking to purchase this year. Next year, he would be looking at 8 vehicles
Yeah, he's coming
to
right now.
purchase. Here he comes. And that would bring him up where he would like to be. And Sheriff Redder, come right on up. We're ready for you.
You might want to distance at the far podium. We can hear you fine, I think.
Right, thank you.
I just briefly got to where our discussion yesterday, the number of cars this year, and possibly the 8 you would need next year. And then we talked briefly about budgets, didn't get in that too far. And I didn't get to the part of where we're probably going to be short of funds in 2021. So I didn't quite get that far, so go ahead.
Okay. I've given to Beth to pass out the kind of a synopsis of the need for our vehicles. And I'll try to briefly go over this. What we found out is, obviously because of the pandemic, that a lot of the auto manufacturers are closed for production. And we're finding that the 2020 Chargers are just simply not available. They had planned on retooling for that particular car anyway, and this pandemic has just simply made them unavailable. What we have found is that some auto dealerships do have some vehicles that have been ordered ahead of time, have been approved, and are manufactured currently. They're just waiting on those final steps to be made before they can be delivered. One of those, again, is a company that we've dealt with many times, and that being John Jones. We spoke with Wetzel as we got quotes, and they were very competitive. They, in fact, were just slightly less on our needs than their competitors. However, they have not ordered any of those cars yet, and the expectation is going to take a few months for the production to begin again, and they usually have a lead time, and I think Lieutenant Martin could probably speak to this in a little bit greater detail. But the expectation is this is going to take several months, maybe six months to a year, if we order them now, starting at that beginning process. So I'll leave that decision up to you, but our current need is 3 Dodge Durangos, which will be replacing Dodge Chargers that we simply cannot get, and then 1 Dodge Ram for a K9 vehicle, which is a little less expensive and offers more versatility than the Durango does. We tried the Durango with 1 K9 vehicle, and we found it was adequate. However, it was small, a lot smaller. And in fact, the Dodge Ram truck is less expensive. So it makes perfect sense, and we're seeing a lot of other police agencies that are going to the trucks for that purpose. So again, just to recap, our ask is for 3 2020 Dodge Durangos to replace outgoing Dodge Chargers, and 1 Dodge Ram to be used as a K9 vehicle.
So your recommendation is to purchase the Dodge Ram from Wetzel
That's correct.
and the Durangos from John Jones?
That's correct.
Because of a timing,
Correct.
roughly 3 months quicker or even faster than that from Jones?
It's only speculation, but we do know that John Jones has the VIN numbers already designated to that dealership, which means those are somewhere in the queue for completion, and Wetzel would have to start from scratch ordering those vehicles.
So we really don't know for sure what the time difference would be at this point.
No, but there isn't any doubt it's going to be longer if you start today to order them.
That's correct.
Considerably longer.
That's correct.
Where is John Jones located?
Salem, Indiana.
Salem, okay.
And we've purchased vehicles from them in the past. And again, I do have to say hats off to Wetzel. They've done very good with the cars that we've ordered in the past. They've been incredibly competitive. I want to continue doing business. This is just a unique situation.
And they are the low bid. You know, Denny, I haven't heard you say buy local yet. We always count on you to say buy local, and I'm with you on that. I mean, it's we're looking at a $750 lower bid from Wetzel. And also, I know with traffic considerably down and your road deputies, I'm guessing, putting fewer miles on the car with, is there an urgency? Is timing as important today as it would have been, say, 2 months ago? With fewer miles going on the road deputies' cars, is timing as critical as it might have been in, say, February?
Well, I can't say that we're putting fewer miles on the cars because we're still out there responding to calls. We're still out there patrolling and making sure that the roads are safe and,
Sure.
and you know, the county is safe.
But there are
So,
fewer citizens putting fewer miles. There are fewer accidents, aren't there?
we have seen a little bit of a downtrend. However, they continue to happen daily. So
Yeah. I mean, there are more trucks. It seems to me like truck traffic has not gone down, but
Not at all.
passenger vehicles seem to have reduced significantly. And I think NDOT had a presentation yesterday at the governor's briefing showing a huge drop
They-
in passenger vehicles.
According to the Indianapolis News last night, they estimated a 40% drop in rush hour period traffic.
Yeah.
That's good.
I mean, it's logical that
Sure.
maybe the urgency of replacing these vehicles is not exactly what it was 2 months ago. I'm just wondering if there was any validity to that.
Well, and again, and please chime in if you have any information, but I'm not seeing a decrease in their daily mileage only because we
Really?
still have to patrol. Keep in mind that we don't just respond to calls, and our call volume is down, which is good, but we're still patrolling, making sure that, the county is safe. So, I mean, if there is a decrease in mileage, it would be small. But
Would you think it would be reasonable that if we say we started with Wetzel today, we'd be 4 months or more behind what you would be if you went with the other folks who
It's-
have the vehicle already in the system?
it's possible. What my primary concern is that we already know that there will be budgetary concerns in 2021, and my concern is that we may not be able to get these cars if we order from any company from scratch, regardless who it is, that we may not get them until 2021. So you would have to, if you did decide to go that route, you would have to save that money until that time.
They can encumber it if you've got a purchase order and
Please, we
Yeah.
could do that at the end of the year.
I can see you don't want to, wait around until the money goes away, but if we encumber it, that could guarantee you have it.
And, yeah, and the other thing, and please keep in mind that there are other things that go along with that, the equipment for the vehicles and other things that would also have to be encumbered. The monies for that would have to be set aside as well. So it's not just as simple as the numbers that are here in front of you.
Right, that's the visible part of the iceberg. And
That's right.
I know that from the time you take delivery of the vehicle, there's time on top of that to have it equipped.
Are all these coming out of
Correct.
Cume Cap?
They
No.
usually do.
Yeah, that's usually,
Yeah, if you look at the bottom.
I mean, this is already budgeted for 2020.
plenty,
The
right?
2941 is what's left after funding all those.
For his portion of it, yes.
Danny, what do you think? I mean, I guess I'm a little concerned on the time frame for what they may need. I do like to buy locally if we can, but, I listen to what you're saying. I'm concerned, we don't know how long this is going to go on. It could be another couple of months, 3 months yet. So it could be way into next year possibly you could even get these cars.
That's true.
So,
I'm okay with whatever you and Mary Ann decide. I like to buy local, but I can see this is a little bit unusual, so I mean, whatever you decide.
I think we really haven't got a definitive report back from Wetzel on how long it would take,
well,
They don't
Wetzel
know.
doesn't know. He doesn't have any idea because he hadn't ordered. They've shut the plants down. You have no idea when they're going to gear those plants back up. And so,
I mean, it's not like they have to build a Durango from scratch. They're out there, and believe me, people are not buying cars right now.
Right.
I think they can find 3 Durangos in North America somewhere.
I do know
count
that,
on it.
I do know that typical lead times are 3 to 5 months generally if I order a car from scratch. Sometimes they can get them quicker, but, we've experienced about 3 to 5 months, and that's the minimum times. So, and then that would be from the time that the factories reopen.
You're saying we have to go to the factory for this, that they can't find it in inventory in some location? You're saying the factories have to reopen before we can take
I don't
delivery
know
of 3
that, when you
Durangos?
spoke with Wetzel, did they indicate had any ability to buy any cars that were sitting on the lot at other dealerships.
The only two dealerships that order enough, the only two dealerships that I've dealt with that order them, basically to stock them onto their lot, is John Jones and Fletcher, are the two that I'm familiar with that actually order enough. The ones from John Jones, they're in queue already to be shipped out. They were getting shipments in daily up until the time that they shut the factories down. When they shut the factories down, they shut the trucking down so they can get any in. That's where those VIN numbers that the sheriff was talking about are coming from. They've already got them, they're coming in. Wetzel, they don't order police vehicles to sit on their lot to go to police agencies, so they order from the factory from scratch. They have to be produced, which is usually about 12 weeks for them to get it in, and that's 12 weeks in addition to however long the factories are going to be shut down until they start production back up. So for Wetzel to even try to get them from somewhere else, it's going to be nearly impossible for them to do.
As Wetzel said, it would be impossible to do until the factories reopen. I guess that's what I wanted to do, is give Wetzel a chance to say, the factories have to reopen for us to provide, to supply you with that. I haven't heard that yet.
They've already told us that, but we have not approached them with trying to find that from another dealership. The other issue is that other dealership's not under any obligation to sell that vehicle to them. So, for the quoted price. So, there would be, or could be, an alteration in that price. But I'd be more than happy to ask them if that's something that they can do.
I just feel more comfortable giving the local people an opportunity in this time of great need with so many local people suffering.
Sure.
You know, it's just, one $92,000 purchase in Wayne County has a ripple effect on Wayne County people. And I don't know about you, but, there's so many people suffering right here. I'd like to keep as many dollars in Wayne County as we possibly can to benefit local folks.
Absolutely. And again, hats off to them. They've done a very good job with their quotes. And keep in mind that we're asking for one of these vehicles to be ordered from Wetzel, and we already have two vehicles that are currently on order at Wetzel.
Right.
The Dodge Ram truck, that had to be ordered no matter where we went from. They didn't have that particular one in stock. John Jones did have one that was similar to it. However, it was a little bit more than what was quoted from going from scratch. And that's one of the reasons why we said to go to Wetzel for those, that they did beat the price, was local, and the only reason we were asking for John Jones is because we know those are coming in and we can get them.
There is a chance, that there's a municipality, a county sheriff whose financial well-being is not as strong as Wayne County's, and they maybe have had to cancel their order. There's it's hard times out there, and it could be that, an order was placed that had to be canceled too. So, I just would like to give Wetzel a chance.
Sure.
To do a nationwide search for Durango. I know the police package is not like what you can go out and buy off the lot. I know it's a different animal than what you see on display at a car lot.
Sure.
So.
And I have no problem asking that question. I'd love to give them that opportunity. Do the commissioners want to make a decision that if Wetzel's not able to provide that, that we move forward, or do you want me to come back next week?
No, I think we can do that we could
Ask
ask them to go ahead, and if Wetzel comes back and says, no, we've looked, there's none across the United States that we could get, then we'd authorize them to go ahead and make the purchase.
Yeah, if the factories have to reopen, if there's just no way Wetzel can do this
Sure.
Yeah, factories have to then go ahead to John Jones.
I agree.
Yeah.
Okay.
We don't
Very
want to
good.
hobble you, and you don't have to.
Want to make the motion, Mary Ann?
Yeah, I move that you see if Wetzel can provide the Durangos before the factories reopen, okay? And you know what I mean. And if they cannot, then go ahead and seek from John Jones, and that you go ahead and purchase the Dodge Ram 1500 from Wetzel That's my motion.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Mr. Burns?
Aye.
Mrs. Butters?
Aye.
Mr. Powell?
Aye. Pass. Go
Very
get 'em.
good, thank you so much.
All right.
The last item I have quickly is our 2019 jail information.
Good.
I don't know if you want me to approach and pass that out or give it to.
Just
Lay it down and I can.
There you go.
Just in a quick summary of that, you'll find that our jail population has decreased slightly. We're actually doing very well comparatively across the state. I have to applaud our court system and our probation for helping manage those numbers so well. Our jail kitchen, as you're aware, we're back into that, and everything is moving very well. Very happy with that. So, but feel free to read over that at your leisure. If you're in self-isolation at home, that'll give you something to do. So,
Having trouble sleeping?
that's right. That's
Yeah.
right.
Very
So,
good.
if you have any questions, as always, please give me a call, but I think you'll find everything in there to your pleasure, and it's a good report.
Thank you very much. Certainly appreciate it.
Speaking of delivery delays, I know I told you those infrared thermometers that are no touch from 3 inches
Yes.
forehead.
Yes.
Ms. Plyer estimated they would be in last Friday. Well, can you believe there's a little delay? They said they're shipping this week instead, but I know your security details really are tiring of those touch thermometers.
Sure.
But they are supposed to be shipping this week. I'll believe it when I see the whites of their FedEx boxes, you know? So I want to apologize. I was just sharing with you what they told me, and then I keep getting these shipping updates, which
Sure.
are not good news, but
So we're kind of running into the same thing on other personal protective equipment. I will have to say that we had a need for face shields, and Primex and B&F Plastics has stepped up. They retooled to produce those shields, and they've outfitted us with 50 of those. We've got those deployed, and again, you know, it's another great example of how the citizens of Wayne County can come together and help each other out in a time of need. The other thing that I wanted to express about our jail, we have no suspected or confirmed cases of COVID-19 in our jail. Our staff are all healthy and doing well. Our inmates are all healthy and doing well. Everybody is cooperating. I'm very, very pleased with the steps we've taken and the outcome we have so far.
Very good.
video visitation was that was visionary. Visionary video visitation. If you had not implemented that last year, who knows what you might have had on your hands today.
Sure.
And plus then the surveillance cameras and x-rays and all that. It's as though you knew what was coming, Sheriff.
It's always good to be prepared for the future.
That's right. Also, I want to let you know that Sunday night's NBC Nightly News featured the first responders in Coral Springs, Broward County, Florida. I don't know if you saw that, but
did not.
they're doing a little finger stick blood test that shows the antibodies that indicated whether their critical personnel have had COVID-19, have it now, or are actively having it, or negative. And what this has allowed them to do, Coral Springs is a population, they're just the city, of 130,000, so they're basically double our size in just Coral Springs. It allowed them to send a lot of their police EMTs back to work because so many of these young, healthy, vibrant people have gone through COVID unaware. They were totally asymptomatic, or they thought they just had a mild cold. They had a lot of their police personnel on quarantine or isolation at home, and believe me, their police chief was delighted. I got on the phone at like 7:30 Monday morning with their city manager and their medical director for the Broward County emergency team, and they are so delighted that they've had such great success. They consider it to be about 90% accurate, which is better than the swab test. And what it's allowed them to do is release these first responders from isolation at home, put them back, back on the street, back on the job. And so we have ordered a small number of that to have an experience with it. And that too is on back order. Supposed to have it by April 15th. Now they're saying maybe April 20th. But across the country now, there's having more and more positive experience with antibody testing, which doesn't replace the swab testing. But I was very impressed with how pleased Broward County, Florida has been with their first responder testing, especially with police and fire.
Thank you. And I've sourced another test for the coronavirus, and we'll be making that purchase as well. I've not checked with them today to see when their expected delivery date is. However, at last check, they did say 7 days. So hopefully this will be quick. It can be done by our jail medical.
Is that a blood test?
No, it's a swab.
Okay.
However, the turnaround time on that, if it's sent overnight, we should have results within 48 hours.
Okay, I found a source in New Jersey, $40, 24-hour turnaround. I didn't order them, but it's, testing is available.
Yes.
We've just had so little testing in Wayne County, and we're flying blind.
Right.
Yeah, good. So between, other resources, we have to be creative because we've just had so little testing.
Sure.
Good.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Steve?
I've got a couple of things for you eventually.
Okay, I'll come back, Ron.
The courthouse HVAC project is coming to a close. They've had obviously some good time in the courthouse with a lot less people to be working around in there. They are currently, the cooling tower is in and up, and the balancing of the system is taking place, as well as the final programming of the computer control. So they're still looking to be finished probably sometime next week. The jail bond project, if you've been by there, the new garage doors are on the maintenance building. The security wall is up, waiting for the razor wire to go on top of it. Some of the other projects inside the jail have slowed down, just simply because the product that it takes to get it done is slow to get here. So some of the subcontractors that were working in the jail have pulled off and went to other jobs. I do have one change order, and these we have discussed, so it's all on one order. This goes back several meetings, and I'll go through each one of these. The first one right there, highlighted right in the center there, is to add the barb and razor wire to the top of that security wall that they just built. Remember, we discussed that. This entails about 48 feet of walls length to put up there. They will install posts on the back side of it, and then this razor wire and barbed wire then will be attached to the top of these posts. And that change is for $4,019.40. And then remember, we talked about the sheriff made a request to carpet some spaces that were in the original bid. These are spaces that either have concrete floors currently or tiled floors, and that is the jail commander's office, the lieutenant jail commander's office, and then that central control area where you were several weeks ago when you looked at that film on the windows. And that change order is $4,046.74. And the last one, the original specs for all the day room tables and chairs were not stainless, and it's reasonable that those should be stainless just
Oh,
simply
yeah.
because they're more durable and they're more sanitary to wipe down.
What were they?
It was a Formica type top, yeah. So to change there's 16 tables that seats 8 people at each table, and to change those out, it's about $560 a table. So that change is $91.55 for the total change of $17,221.44.
Okay.
Move for approval.
Second.
Wait a minute, call a roll, sorry about that.
Mr. Burns,
Aye.
Mrs. Butters,
Aye.
Mr. Powell.
Aye, passed. Okay.
Sign that.
Just
All right.
one
Yeah,
signature.
just one signature.
Formica?
Yeah.
Don't they know what idle hands can do to Formica? Kryptonite is better.
In the security equipment, Ron, did you have a chance to look at that document that I sent you?
No, I've not even downloaded it, I don't think.
Sorry.
I haven't looked at
Okay.
it. I know I've got some changes. I shouldn't say I haven't looked at it, I glanced at it.
The bid document that will go out has been given to us. Ron has a copy of that, so just as soon as he's done looking at that, we'll send those back.
All right.
And then we'll go to the next step on that. Regarding the item office, our staff has installed the new dedicated circuits for the new, those are in. and
Your
we're waiting-
staff, good.
We're waiting on them, the vending company, because they want to move machines themselves. My sense is they're scheduling those
Sometimes.
sometime, so just as soon as those have just gotten out of the office area or the proposed space, then we'll go and demo that area to get that started. The, last Friday, we had a incident, potential contamination of the coroner's office and the coroner's van. We called in that firm that has that spray. We sanitized this room and sanitized the coroner's office as well as the coroner's vehicle. Our staff then still is supplying sanitizing items that we can get. Those items are trickling in. We got a few shipments yesterday of some hand sanitizer finally and some hand sanitizer wipes. And we make those available still to the departments as they request those. The cash box, we've seen it's installed out there. We had it installed, and it was too short. Took it back out and took it to a local welding shop who installed some longer legs on it so it would be more accessible from a drive-up vehicle. So
Works for Jaguar drivers.
well, I guess, or something that sits real low, yeah. The online permitting, we have a conference call set up with the company week after next, and that is the first phase of getting our online permitting process started. The had an inquiry from the fairgrounds, and I know you probably can't make a crystal ball, but we've had obviously some vendors, cancel their events. Some of them have canceled entirely, so refund that money, but some of them want to reschedule.
You just don't know. In some cases.
Some of them are thrown out after June, but
I would see no problem in rescheduling, but knowing that we could cancel it at any time. And it's difficult for those folks, depending on what it is, advertising wise or something. I mean, nobody knows at this point,
if you're anything on the fair specifically?
No, there's a telemeeting tomorrow. Our fair is so very early in the scheme of county fairs that I am guessing that we are going to be asked if the fairgrounds can be available for,
Yeah.
I won't say it out loud, but I sure wouldn't want to schedule a quilting bee or something in
I
August.
know, it's a tough,
I wouldn't want a 150-person cat show to bump the county fair. You get where I'm coming from?
I do, and I guess at this point, with my previous question, I'm gonna let this play out a couple more weeks to see, because, you know, the governor's orders goes through, what, the 20th of April? See where-
Yeah, but he's gonna extend that.
I
That's,
think he will,
that's-
maybe a little lifting of some other restrictions, I think, but
yeah.
I'll let this play out a little bit before we start committing. Because I agree with you. And I've even heard that they're contemplating some downsized type fair, obviously with not, because the Midway, you know, books those things out a year in advance.
The Midway may not even be available.
I know, that's what I'm saying, so, anyway.
All things are up in the air.
Yeah. And that's all I got.
Okay, thank you very much. Ron?
Couple of things. Two conflict of interest disclosure statements. I don't know much about this one. I'll hand it down. We do need other copies, so there's only one there.
I'm not hearing Ron.
Okay, these are two conflict of interest disclosure statements. This is name and address is Kimberly Klauser for her husband, who sells Parts Master, and possible purchase of KN95 masks, gloves, and hand sanitizers. And so she has put in a conflict of interest in case EMA would order some supplies from that company. And all we have to do is accept that, isn't it?
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
Move to accept.
Second.
Okay,
Mr. Burns,
Aye.
Mrs. Butters,
Aye.
Mr. Powell.
aye.
The second one I have is from Pete Zaleski. I told you a few weeks ago that this would be coming. It is essentially a single transaction that has occurred and the possibility of additional transactions. Phillips Drugs was providing the Public Health Department with various supplies, PPE, and obviously those were and I think continue to remain in relatively short supply. So this comes to you after having been reviewed by the local Board of Health with their recommendation that you approve it. Again, this situation is one where Phillips Drugs is supplying these materials at their actual cost. So there is no markup, no margin whatsoever, and I'm not sure that constitutes a pecuniary interest, but to avoid any appearances of impropriety,
Disclosure.
Pete prepared this, and I pass it down again with the recommendation from the Board of Health that you approve. Since you are the appointing authority for that position, that's why it's coming back.
Denny, this one's from Peter Selesky, and I think you're familiar with what he has provided to the public health at cost on some supplies that he had on hand.
Yeah, I think it's okay. I'd like
Okay.
to move for approval.
Move for approval. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Mr. Burns, your vote.
Aye.
Mrs. Butters.
Aye.
Mr. Powell.
Aye. I think there's 3 copies there on that one, Mary Ann.
And the only other thing I have, and I apologize, we'll make copies of it. I don't know the status of this, and maybe you've had communications with the mayor, but a proposed subsequent joint executive order regarding the COVID ID,
The what ID?
the COVID-19 emergency.
Oh,
I would suggest, again, I don't know if that's the latest draft. It was handed to me by the city attorney, so I would suggest we make copies of it and
Okay.
take a look at it and then get your input.
All right, all
I
right.
believe EMA probably has the most.
This one here, I know they've been
I don't
in
know who developed
discussion with Reed Hospital, Public Health, and the hospital board, and the mayor, and I know they met and had a discussion on the items that they're recommending in here, but I will have to read that, and we'll make copies of that.
they want us to take action on this?
I'm not asking you to take action today, but as a joint executive order, I think it needs to come from all three commissioners, not just the
Oh,
president.
yeah.
Right.
Can you email this to Denny? Do we have this in email form?
I don't, but I
Well,
assume
we'll scan it and send it to you,
we
Denny,
can scan and send it.
so that you have it. Yeah.
Again, I would call your attention to one of the recommendations that urges that golf courses be closed. It doesn't require they be closed.
Urges.
I believe that's the term, or suggest, perhaps.
I hope it addresses protection of food in grocery stores. Has there been a discussion in your meeting with the task force, Ken, about protection of food in grocery stores?
There's been general discussion on that, and I think in that order there, you will find where they're looking to limit the number of folks that can go into a store to 25%, with a counter at the front entrance. If they have two entrances to a store, they would close one entrance, similar to what Walmart has already done, and you enter from what I call the grocery side to Walmart. They would post a person there. They would allow 25% of whatever the fire marshal is allocated. If they said 1,000 people could go in within, or could occupy it, then only 25% could go in at any one time. And they're recommending that the staff wears masks.
The staff, but not customers?
Well, no, I'll get to that later.
Okay.
We're talking grocery stores, that the staff wears masks, and that also the self-service in grocery stores and in convenience food, that all of those be closed off in filling stations as well as grocery stores, that there would be no self-service on there. And then also, I think you'll find in there that they're recommending that all folks should wear masks when they leave their homes and so on. And I think you'll find all that in there.
Well, yeah, but
And
there's no
then-
protection of, I mean, what I see are people touching and passing droplets onto open food, like lettuce and celery and, produce. I do not understand why grocery stores cannot be required to have all people wear masks around unprotected food. Has there not been any discussion of that?
Not directly on that. What they are discussing is everyone, when they're out, to wear masks, and that the staff within those stores would wear masks. So that would give you the mask that you're talking about. Now, if somebody picks up a vegetable or something, unless they have gloves on, that.
That doesn't help.
There hasn't
Dirty
been-
gloves on,
Yeah, there hasn't
tomatoes.
been any discussion about a shield or anything on produce or anything that I'm aware of.
Well, I think you got to put everything back into context here. And that would be the authority of the local health department is limited to enforcing the governor's executive orders. So anything they do has to be derivative from the governor's executive orders, or that of the local health officer to close churches, schools, and public gatherings.
Yeah.
I'm not sure where that fits in, Marion.
Well, I mean, certainly the golf course thing was beyond what the governor has done.
Yeah, and I think the government intentionally, although not articulating it, should have, I think they differentiated between country clubs and golf courses as places of outdoor activity.
Right.
And I don't think there's any question country clubs need to be closed. That means they need to
The
be locked down to their
clubhouses?
membership,
Yeah.
other than one person available to take,
Orders for food or something.
well, to take billings.
Yeah.
Food operations are still under the same general guidelines as other restaurateurs, so,
They're restaurants.
yes.
They're restaurants before they are clubs. Or they are, right.
Well, I think, and I'm not being critical of the governor, because these executive orders are coming out
Daily.
daily and in response to very fluid situations, but they frequently lack the clarity that those of us who are used to reading every line and words would like to see. The most notable example being the executive order that prohibited the initiation of evictions and foreclosures. Well, the term used there was initiation. There was another sentence that talked about, and all statutes applicable there too. I have advised the sheriff, and I've advised our office that not only does that order apply to initiating new proceedings, but it also to prosecuting those that were pending at the time the order entered. And we are not conducting sheriff sales in Wayne County unless, and I don't think they're trying to deal with the exception, unless there's absolute certainty that we're not dealing with a single or multifamily residential property. I don't know that there have been any of those, if you will, commercial sales that have gone to sale, but that's been the advice I gave Sheriff Redder. So that being said, yeah, I think the temptation was to just equate country clubs with everything that happens on their campus, and I think you have to look at the activity, not the owner, and relate that back to the governor's executive orders. Very clearly, gatherings in excess of 10 would be prohibited. Even if golf were a permitted activity, you couldn't, in my opinion, have your usual 48-person Tuesday night golf league. You need to limit cart occupancy to driver only, sanitize carts between rounds, and minimize the traffic in the pro shop as with any others businesses in accordance with the CDC guidelines. So that being said, the food issue that you raised, Mary Ann, is a valid one. I think at most it could be a recommendation coming from that committee.
And they are looking and meeting on a regular basis to analyze different things and talk about what they need to do. And I think the key thing currently at this time, and my big concern that I have is as the weather warms up and it's getting really nice out there, we've done so well here in Wayne County. Unfortunately, we do have 16 cases and 1 death. And that's, that's one more than we actually wanted on there. But compared to other places around the United States, now is not the time, just like what you're talking about, Mary Ann, now is not the time to back off, folks. Now is the time to hang in there and continue doing what we're doing. And as we find weaknesses within the system, to look at those and try and do something about that to make sure we continue to stay at the lower level that we are currently at this time in the Wayne County area. And so, as you're talking about fruit and stuff, that's something I can certainly bring up and talk about as to, have you looked at this? Do you have ideas? How can we be more proactive in this particular area? What can we do,
Facial protection of
It's just like
shoppers.
you see the grocery store now, they have at the cash out counters, they have the plastic shields up. And usually the young ladies or young men that are processing that, they have their masks on and they're wearing their gloves. So they're really putting things in place. I know I was in Kroger's the other night, and they had very nice graphics on the floor, exactly where people should stand and everything, to keep the 6 feet apart. So they're really trying.
Did they have plexiglass?
They have the plexiglass up at all the checkout places, and then the self-checkouts, they had the folks there, and if you self-checked out, They were right there spraying it, wiping it all off and everything for the next person that would come, which is very good.
So is that self-serve? Is that what you were referring to as self-serve?
Both.
Self-checkout?
On the self-serve, they had a person there, when you self-served yourself, they walked up to your unit and sprayed that and wiped it all off right away.
So self-serve and self-checkout.
Right. But then on the other one, they had the plastic sealed up where their personnel checked you out and wore the masks and the gloves and everything. So they're really trying to do it. And so then I will bring that up, Mary Ann, and
Because I know that,
Matter
they're
of fact-
focused so much on social distancing, but I really feel we need to look at the protection of the food supply. That is something that there's been so little discussion of. It's all social distancing.
well, if you listen to some of the doctors on the TV interviews, they will tell you what they do. They bring the fruit home and they wash it with soap and water,
Well, that's what I do.
and that's what they do, and then dry it, and to be very careful with it, and that's what they do. And it is, as I'm thinking about what you're talking, I'm thinking about the produce in the store, and I'm thinking, okay, other than the customer that's wearing the mask and should have some gloves on, how else you protect that produce? They're wearing a mask, they have the gloves on, so does the folks that work there, as to what else you might be able to do, to protect, because they're all on shelves wide open, and
Just facial covering on every customer is what I feel would be so easy
You'll find
to-
that in there.
No, it's not in here. It's just a mild recommendation that,
Well, everybody wears a face mask, I think is what they have in there.
it's recommended that all residents within the
Wear a face mask.
jurisdiction wear protective face
There you are.
masks. That's just a very, very mild recommendation. Anyway, I've been talking about food supply for, what, 6
Right.
weeks now?
Yeah.
But I just am so afraid that that's how it's been spread.
Well, like I said, they're toughening it up. It's like the convenience stores. They're closing those down so that you can't go in and do the self-service and everything. That's in there. And so you go in one of the filling stations and they have the food that's there, plus they have 30 different drinks that you can do and so on. And so they're closing those down. So they're looking at areas to see, okay, the one in 40 where they had a problem. They're looking at the filling stations, the convenience. And so they're trying to pinpoint places and to be proactive in those areas.
Now, if we're expected to sign this, I have some, there's our names and signature blocks. I think we need to make some changes.
Anything you have, make, and
Okay.
I'll get back with
The
them.
whereas clauses,
Sure.
I don't know.
And the whereas
those-
is probably,
they don't have
I go
a-
past those, 'cause
If you would, just give that to Beth so she can scan, send to Denny and me. I gave you my only copy.
okay.
Okay, this is
Yeah,
just
don't
the
write
hard
on that
copy,
one then
right?
until,
This is,
yeah.
Pardon?
Yeah, that's
because
the only
I
hard
think we need
copy.
to have some serious deliberation on this if we're going to put our signatures on it,
I'm
because I do
suggesting you
not
don't.
concur.
We'll scan it and get it to everybody, yes.
Maybe we take a recess and give Denny a chance to read it.
I have 3 items for you as well.
Okay,
And
Denny,
I'll finalize. The only thing now, obviously, with the approval of WellCare's URSA application and a new project designated, approved, and project period defined, A, we congratulate them, but B, now my front burner item is finalizing the lease. And I had given it to you ages ago, look at it. I've not really gotten any, I think your initial comments were that you felt like it addresses it, but take a second look, and maybe sometimes the benefit of a little time between
right.
first and second
if I
looks.
recall, I think you're right. We were pleased, but we sent it over there and we were waiting for any feedback from them.
And I've got some of their comments,
Okay.
several of which have become moot. We've decided that they wanted to make sure that and I haven't gone over to look at it, but Steve, the generator that's in the health building that outside is
Still
it
there.
on a pad? Yeah, and it's gonna stay, they just wanted to make sure they had access to that, and so we solved the generator issues, and we're working our way through furnishings issues, which I think eventually are gonna resolve themselves. So, there really weren't a whole lot of substantive issues, other than maybe questions for Steve that I'll get to him. And then, the big variable that's on our side of the equation is how are we looking for vacation of the remaining health care folks from the health the current building by June 1?
Vacation of public health people?
Yes. I mean, that's a question. And so I don't want the least, if it looks as if we're going to maybe not fully vacate, then I want to address it and so that we know how we're going to deal with it.
Right now, we're still looking to be done by the end of May to be able to move all the folks. You know, we haven't met the last several weeks, but Christine is still.
Who's yet to move?
I think once you got the HIV person, I don't think has moved yet. And so Monday, okay, so once they're out of there,
No, we moved.
oh, this Monday, they moved?
We just moved.
Okay.
I mean, I think
There
somebody
may-
in the HIV, the person who does that work, I think his spouse or something was on quarantine. So that delayed the pickup of the materials, I think.
Oh, well, they were gonna have a meeting. I know Kim and that person were gonna get together and move all the supplies and everything. But I'm not sure if there's anybody left after that.
Well, Kim has been out all week. I don't know what the
Has she?
circumstances were.
Okay, all right.
They can- I mean,
Then
I-
they haven't got together, I'm sure. And
Have all the records been moved?
Yeah.
Some loose
So what's
ends
still over
that the
there?
transition committee needs to address are, I'm still wanting to make sure we get documentation of insurance policies that have been in place, policy numbers, ideally, at least copies of the deck pages in those insurance policies, so we have them going forward, because they were required for the mutual assurance and insurance of both the health center and Wayne County government.
Okay. I'll put that, so I want the insurance policies, get copies of those, and anything else you can think of?
That was the biggest loose end I saw from the issues I've talked about over the last.
Okay, all right.
I'll take a look again and hopefully get a.
Whatever you got, if you got
revised.
some, just email me, Ron, and I'll put it on the list, and we'll make sure we get that
Do
accomplished.
you expect the transition committee to meet this week?
What I,
Friday is a holiday for the county government.
Oh, that's right.
what is, yeah.
That's Good
Well,
Friday.
Planning purposes.
Yeah, what I was gonna do one last week, I was gonna do a teleconference call, but then everybody was at the Public Health Board meeting, except one person. And so I didn't do it, but I will gear up and get something on this again, yeah. And then yeah, I'll get with you afterwards on the furniture for sure, so I can resolve that, so I know exactly whether they're going to
I would
pay
like
for-
to have clarification of their position. It's kind of
Yeah.
been hard to.
Right, I don't know. I need to know. I can give Eric a call, but the last time then, he referred it to Rick Boston and you,
I mean,
and so I'm
it's
kind of
kind of
waiting.
like when you're growing up, you break a thermometer, you'd have those little beads of mercury, you put your finger on one, out pops about 8 others. you know.
There you go.
This is a child.
Mhm. Those were fun to play with in those days, you
Probably.
know. Yeah,
What
that
did we
mercury-
know about heavy metals back then?
Oh, gosh. Okay,
And we're still here.
and we're still here, aren't we?
Drink out of garden hose.
Beth, you have a couple of things?
I do,
Yes, ma'am.
you have been emailed in advance, so none of this should be totally new to you. Sean Scholler, our GIS coordinator,
Right.
has a proposal with a company called Infrastructure Management and Engineering. They're going to do Google Earth type photos. They're charging $24,500 for the actual photos and work. There is an additional $5,000, which I'll just call software. Ron was given the proposal to review.
Okay.
He did ask that I add the E-Verify, non-disclosure, and the business with Iran. statement, which I will do. But other than that, you're comfortable?
I depend on Sean to review the scope of work. I mean, there's things in there, I don't even know what he's talking about.
I'm glad it's not.
But as
just
far as
me.
the format of the contract, and it is one that should not exceed 50,000, so it would not have to be uploaded to DLGF's portal, so if we add those legally required clauses, I'm good with it.
And this is accepting their proposal, it doesn't actually have a signature line for the commissioners.
I know,
Well-
I was confused.
Sean, I wrote back to Sean and said, I know attorney that this is a proposal, and he said that is their final agreement, and he doesn't think they're into legalese.
In other words, he's gonna call them and say, do it, huh?
They have other skills.
If we approve it.
Purchases of that size can be done on a PO basis, so that's no big.
Move for approval.
Second.
Call the roll.
Yes, Mr. Burns,
Aye.
Mrs. Butters.
Aye.
Mr. Powell.
Aye, pass.
Okay.
Okay.
So, Valerie Schaefer gave you a very clear explanation of what her only request is. She is going to enter into a lease for a postage machine. She doesn't need you to approve the lease, she needs you to approve the term, because it will go beyond the term of the
Yeah.
EDC's agreement with the
Yeah.
county. This is identical to the situation with her vehicle that was approved
Right.
prior. So it's just allowing her to enter into an agreement with Quadient Postal Machine and Services for a term that would exceed the agreement between the county and the EDC.
Which
Move
expires.
for approval to the exception.
About $1,000.
Huh?
About $1,000.
Expires this year, though, the agreement.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
That's why the new agreement would go into next year, and we have no agreement yet at this time for extending that, okay? Do I hear a motion?
Second.
I did.
Call the
Mr.
roll.
Burns,
Aye.
Mrs. Butters.
Aye.
Mr. Powell.
Aye, passed.
Then you also received information that the Highway Department has, Mike Sharp presented a request to hire for his part-time summer laborers. I believe Kim coordinated with council and also discussed with you. At this point, this will be for posting, as there are some
Chair would so
questions of
entertain a
bringing
motion
people
to
in.
authorize posting.
Move to post.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Mr. Burns,
Aye.
Mrs. Butters.
Aye.
And Mr. Powell.
Aye.
And this does require signatures, please.
Which reminds me, are we contracting to mow the fairgrounds, or with all of these people being sent home with, is that necessary in this day and age of people being sent home with nothing to do?
I've not sent anybody home out there except for the one, and we didn't hire the second part-time, so we are down just 2 people out there.
I mean, with reduced workload of not renting the facility, hasn't that freed up people to have time to mow?
But it's also given us time to do other stuff that we just didn't get done, and that we contracted out before, for example, put in some LED lights into the, one of the barns. We're doing that ourselves rather than contracting out. So I got a full-time person and a part-time person working. We got a part-time person open that's not filled, and one of the full-time people is on the work from home team. So we have cut back out there.
You get my point, don't you, Ken? I mean,
No, I
we've
see
got
what you're saying,
people
yeah. I also,
with being underutilized at home.
And that was the conversation I had with the contractor, that there will be times that I won't need them. That it's on a week-to-week basis. And when we can do it, we'll do it. Yep.
Yeah, we are not contracted that every 10 days, whether it rains or grass grows or the sun shines or not. It just seems like a luxury.
Well, again, I think the way we've structured it, it's a week-to-week, it's not a every week through September. So there'll be time, in fact, we've gotten our mowers ready for the summer, because there'll be times that we will mow it when we have time. And we won't
I mean,
have-
we have reduced workload with not renting
No,
anything.
Absolutely, but again, it's given us, just like around here, it's given us opportunity to do some things that just got shoved to the back burner.
Yeah, but you get my point.
I do.
It-
It kind of segues into an issue that came up very tangentially at the last Public Health Board meeting, and that was whether there would be a need for additional staff to be brought on for the health department to do, as positive COVID-19 tests come back, to do the case investigation work that is attendant to every case, because they try to go and identify those who might have been exposed.
The tracing.
The
right.
tracing, the case.
Yeah, that's very
The
important.
case tracing. And as Christine said, it's not terribly difficult to train someone to do, but it does take time, and it needs to be done in a uniform and consistent manner. So she indicated that in other areas where she had been experienced, sometimes in a situation such as ours, where we have people that have been assigned to stay
from
home, not necessarily work from home, stay home, other than be on call.
West wing, east wing
Yeah.
people.
Could those people be made available to her? She hasn't made that formal request, she was just posing that as a possible
I think it's
alternative
very
before you
good.
hire somebody in off the street, for instance.
Absolutely, and that's work that could be done off-site.
Yes.
Well,
that's
yeah,
very definite.
that's right.
See, I think cross-training,
It's
interdepartmental
pretty much
cross-training
very
is going to be.
very telephone oriented as far as,
Yeah. Computer and telephone, I think we are going to discover skills that are being utilized by one department could be very beneficial to another
to
department.
be clear, she's not making that request, but that's just that was in response to one of her board members' questions, is do they anticipate a need to hire? And she said before, obviously, consistent with what council's saying, before we hire new people, we got to look at our available resources and see if there is the ability
To do that.
meet those
right.
needs.
And I think there would be, yeah.
And that's what I'm thinking too about the fairgrounds. You know, there are the highway employees that might just be capable of mowing the fairgrounds on those weeks they're home on call. And on days like yesterday, I think they would probably rather be at the fairgrounds than at home on call. You see my point? I think we can be creative and save money at the same time.
I'm not adverse to anything.
Okay, no, it's a good point. We'll take that and think about that. Anything else, Beth? Steve? Ron? Mary Ann?
I have one thing.
Okay, Danny?
I want Denny to get a copy
We're
of
gonna
this.
scan this and send it
And
to
I
him.
really want to know more when we reconvene about what is the purpose of this joint statement from one municipality and the commissioners. Why not Cambridge, Hagerstown, Centerville? You know, what is the purpose of this statement? I just want to pose that, so when we
What they're
reconvene,
doing
we
is they're
can.
trying to be consistent that when the health department meets with the hospital and all the folks that they meet with, that we're consistent, that we're speaking with one voice, that this is what I'll just say what we're recommending that folks do. So the city's saying that, city government's saying that, and county government is saying that. And that's what they're looking for, is the consistency in there, that we're speaking with one voice, like we're telling folks, stay home, wash your hands. And that we're all consistent in saying that to our folks out there. And we can't say it enough how important it is. And you'll hear Craig Kenyon and Tom Huth and Dr. Jetmore and Christine all talking about washing your hands. And so, same thing here.
Well, that has been joint announcements in the past, but it would really be helpful if the health department doesn't issue announcements without coordinating with the executive branch of governments, local governments. If that could be,
I have asked them in all this to see that we had a copy ahead of time
Well,
so we can look at it before.
not just
Yeah,
informed, but you got my point.
gotcha. Anything else?
Yes.
Yeah, Danny, go ahead.
There's a police car for Milton.
Oh, we need to authorize that. I move that,
Well, you need a resolution, but.
a resolution.
I would
and-
suggest that you authorize me to prepare the resolution and get the president's signature, and I'll bring it back. That'll get the process going, and then I'll bring it back for ratification next week.
I move that a resolution be prepared declaring that a sheriff's vehicle be declared as having no value.
No longer needed for the department purposes.
For the department, and be considered at a future commissioners meeting.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Mr. Burns?
Aye.
Mrs. Butters?
Aye.
Mr. Powell?
Aye. Unanimous. We'll get it underway, Denny.
Okay.
Yep. And we'll scan this, and in the next 5 or 10 minutes, we'll have it to you.
Okay, and then are we gonna reconvene at some point, or?
How much time are you gonna need, Mary Ann? Gonna take a look at,
I don't know how long it'll take to get in Denny's hands. I say
well,
10,
it
15,
says immediately. It'll
10
take.
minutes?
No, well, I just gave him 5. Time we get up and get in there, she'll make the copies by
And read it?
11:15. He'll have everything.
So by
Well, we need to read it and give it a little bit of thought.
So 11:30?
Okay, we'll reconvene at 11:30, Denny.
Okay,
All right, all right. Call in on my cell number.
I sure
At
will.
11:30, and the clock in here is at about 11 minutes after 11.
Okay, very good.
All right, all right.
Can I make a copy of it first before you scan?
Sure, we'll
I'll
recess.
make a copy of it.
11:30.
I'll take care of it.
Reconvene this meeting, Wayne County Commissioners. Enter into discussion on the joint executive order of the Wayne County, Indiana Commissioners and the mayor of Richmond, Indiana. We'll open it up for discussions. Mary Ann, you had a comment?
Yes, we've been given a document apparently drafted by the mayor of Richmond and his council. There are 9 points in this joint order that he's presented to us for consideration. The first one being confirming that all prior executive orders, and there's only been one that's been a joint executive order issued, I believe, on March 20th. I do not know why we need to reaffirm that executive order, plus it's inaccurate to have them plural at this point, so I recommend that we delete paragraph number 1 because we affirmed that in the execution of that order, so I recommend that we delete number 1. And I so move that we delete number 1 because it is redundant. We've already affirmed it with the execution of that order on March 20th.
I'm not gonna second that. I think it doesn't hurt a thing to say it again.
And there may be a time limit on the viability of executive orders by a municipality, because if you recall, I believe on the 23rd, there was a special meeting of common council for that express purpose.
Right.
And I think there is that time limit, so I tend to agree with Denny. I don't think there's any legal harm, and there may be a point of necessity on behalf of the mayor, and perhaps even this body. I'd have to take a look and see the time limit.
I would kind of agree with that, that's legal, and I'll leave that in between their legal department and ours to make sure that we have it correct.
Okay, I withdraw my motion.
Number 2,
That is, reads, it is recommended that all residents residing and/or working within the jurisdiction of Wayne County, Indiana, and the city of Richmond, Indiana, wear protective face masks when it is necessary to be in public places. I move that we accept that resolution number 2.
okay, you're agreeable to that one?
Yes.
Let's move on to 3.
Do you want to second that? Let's deal with these individually, Denny.
Well, I don't know what you just said. What
I
is-
move that we accept that.
She wants to do a motion on number 2 that says it is recommended that all residents residing and/or working within the jurisdiction of Wayne County, Indiana, and the city of Richmond, Indiana, wear protective face masks when it is necessary to be in a public place.
I see it. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I am too. I don't know that we need a motion at this point on that. Once we go through it, we could have one motion on all of them.
Now-
Let's go to 3 where there's a lot of discussion.
Right. Number 3 reads consistent with Executive Order 2018 issued by the Governor of Indiana on April 6, 2020. All social and country clubs are to be closed, and it is
Period.
recommended and urged that all outdoor activities such as golf, which are offered to the public and the membership of such clubs, be closed as well. I recommend that I move that we delete paragraph number 3 because, first of all, it is not consistent with the governor's executive order because he has not urged that all outdoor activities cease, including golf. He has encouraged the citizens of Indiana to take part in outdoor activities. So I believe that paragraph 3 that begins consistent with the governor is not accurate.
I would propose that we put a period after the word closed and eliminate the rest of this paragraph.
I will accept that.
I agree.
I will accept that to my motion, so
We'll just,
the
Mary Ann, we'll
motion is
just,
that we put a period at the end of "are to be closed."
we won't need a motion at this point. We'll just put the period and then we'll address it when we're done with all 9.
So basically, you would be ultimately voting to either approve or,
I can't hear Ron.
I know,
Well,
it's
I'm
because I'm abiding by number 2 that you just passed.
He put his mask on.
We haven't voted on it yet, Ron. I
Okay.
want to vote on these one by one, but
I'll run in my office and get mine. He suggested when we get through all of them, we'll come back and have one vote.
Come back and just have one motion
One
of
vote for all of them.
approving or rejecting it as modified.
Right,
If
okay,
you approve it.
number 4.
I'd rather vote on them individually.
Number 4.
Every business that is permitted to remain open to the public under the various orders issued by the governor of the state of Indiana should ensure that the occupancy rate at all times be at or below 25% of the approved total occupancy limit as set forth in such businesses' permits. That's a big one.
I'm okay with that.
Now, this is being done by several counties throughout the state now because of the distance between some aisles are very small. And so when you pass people, you can almost rub against each other as you're going through. And so that's one of the things they're looking at to do to try and, again, it's a gathering. And even in grocery stores, you need to still maintain that 6-foot distance in there. And that's what they're working at to try and accomplish with that.
I would hope that these large retailers will offer a way that people do not have to stand in long lines outside their front doors, as they have been doing at opening times. It's just not safe to require your customers to stand in crowded long lines outside their doors. They can find a take a number system with a big chart. Take a number and stay in your cars, and when your number comes up, go in the door. If we create this and have people standing in long lines next to one another, that would be worse than having them in a crowded store.
I agree with Mary Ann, but I don't think it's our responsibility to dictate how they control that line. I would suggest that the store owner should control the line consistent with the governor's
6-foot.
guidelines, yeah.
I would agree, Denny, yeah.
But we can
That's an individual
communicate-
store responsibility.
But I hope the health department can communicate, please do not create another health hazard by creating long-standing lines, like they had in Wisconsin yesterday, which was a travesty.
Right.
But I have no problem with
Okay.
that as it stands.
Let's go to number 5.
All businesses with checkout lanes, whether such lanes are operated by an employee or are considered self-checkout lanes, should close every other checkout lane in order to assist in greater social distancing among customers.
I think most of them are already doing that, but I think it's good to reinforce that again.
Of course, my question is, out in the rural areas, there are stores that only have 2 checkout lanes. Does that mean if you only have 2 checkout lanes, you have to close one of them?
Well, this doesn't say shall, this
Well-
says should, so it leaves
Leaves it open.
leaves it open for their own interpretations.
I would agree with that.
Of course, what this is going to do, now, most checkout lanes are more than 6 feet, have more than 6 feet separation.
And if-
What is this trying to accomplish?
I think they're looking more at bigger box stores that have several checkout lanes is what they're looking at. I don't think they're looking here what
No,
they're thinking
I
about.
think they are addressing the self-checkout lanes. You're thinking of the cashier lane. The self-checkout lane, they are right on top of each other.
That's correct, Denny, you are.
This is trying to address that portion of the store.
Yeah, it's talking about both of them.
It's both of them.
Checkout lanes as well as the self-checkout lanes. You're right, Denny. And the ones I've seen at Kroger, every other one has been closed. And in some cases, they've had 2 checkout lanes. And it depends on the volume of people at the time. Even in the smaller stores, Mary Ann, and sometimes they don't need 2 checkout lanes. One's all they need. So I don't see any problem here. It's going to cause any of the stores any real problems.
Well, if they are controlling the number of people in the stores, of course, what this can do is create a bottleneck at checkout.
No,
But that's not our,
yeah,
we can't legislate that. That's stupid.
I don't see.
Well,
I
but-
know at Kroger's, they've done an excellent job. They've done good graphics. They've got them on the floor saying you stand here. They've done a good job in doing that and putting the plastic up and wearing the mask. They're really trying hard to do that.
But checkout lanes are already have more than 6 feet separation. I question whether this is going to accomplish distancing or is going to create that bottleneck, which creates congestion.
It's not going to hurt anything.
And it's only a recommendation, it's not a shall.
I just think it's going to create congestion, but anyway. Now, number 6 says all businesses should refrain from offering any self-serve food and beverage of any kind at all locations. Of course, my question is, I know it is a should, not a shall. Does this include apples, bananas, produce of all kinds, packaged sandwiches? This is self-serve food. A lot of convenience stores sell self-serve food. What is the definition of self-serve food? How do you all interpret that?
I would interpret that at the, say, a Swifty filling station where they have the self-serve food that's in there. And you just walk up to a container and you pick your food out. Or you go over to what I call the Coke machines, where they have 25 or 30 areas where you can pick up your own cups, and you can fill that up with whatever beverage that you want. That's how I would see that.
Well, the beverage is pretty clear. You know, they're trying to stop the coffee and sodas being self-dispensed.
Because there is the possibility there of touching something or something that you
And the
can pass
donuts,
on to.
that people reach
Right.
in and
Yep.
grab a donut,
Right,
pick one up and put it back and don't take it.
Right,
And they do the same thing with brats and hot dogs too, so.
Right.
right.
The
right.
rolling dogs, yeah.
But if you want anything that the store serves, prepares for you, puts in a to-go box, then that's okay, because that's not self-serve.
Yeah, Kroger's, for example, they don't do
Right.
that anymore. They've closed that all up. I don't know about other stores, but
Isn't all food in the grocery store self-serve?
to a certain
If you get right
extent.
down to it.
Yeah,
I mean, an
yeah.
apple, a banana, a box
Right.
of cereal.
I mean, what's the definition of this?
I would say that our intention is to, anything that could have been handled and put back by a customer, anything that could have been touched by a customer, a previous customer, that's what we're talking about.
Convenience stores pretty much fit that, where they have those units just sitting there, like you said, Denny, walk up and reach in, grab a donut or whatever, a roll, whatever might be in there, hot dog.
You make that same argument for grocery stores. Now, I know I've tried now to screen my lemons and limes without having to touch them and hope that,
You picked the right one.
well, that recognizing that they always put the more attractive side up and the blemish down, but
Only having the juice anyway.
again, I think the problem I see is there's too much focus on the assumed entity that's the sponsor or owner than there is on the activity itself. Because I think Ken's exactly right. This is geared toward the
convenience store.
convenience store with the gas pumps out front,
Right,
but
and this may need to
as
be.
worded, it's equally applicable to the
Yeah.
Krogers of the world.
It may need to be stronger in there and even say convenience stores, filling stations, truck stops, for example, that's truck stops, filling station.
But the problem is,
How you define,
that's getting into the entity that owns or sponsors unless they can articulate a rationale why that's the risk of spread of COVID is unique to those businesses as opposed to
right,
the customer who's sneezing over the produce at Kroger.
yeah.
And gas stations buy sell individual bananas.
Right.
Oh, yeah, they do.
Love
They do.
sells a lot of produce.
And generally speaking, they don't eat them on the premises, they take them out and take out the door with them. So, I mean,
I think what they're thinking about, they're looking, I think, more at the convenience stores is what they're looking at. And I can't speak for them, but I think that's what they're looking at, that there's not a lot of control. You have a cashier in there, or maybe one other person or something, and somebody fixes up the hot dogs or something, puts them in, and people are coming and going. And that would be my guess in talking with folks that. And if you look at what Christine has told us about US 40 and 1, of the kind of the cluster we had over there, and they felt that was due to convenience stores and filling stations that might be passing it on. And that's why additional cleaning in those areas.
Paragraph 6, I would like to see have an amendment to it to read, all businesses selling food should encourage all customers to wear facial coverings. And refrain from offering any self-serve food and beverage of any kind. How do you all feel about that addition?
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that. And we do have an area,
Should
number 8 addresses gas stations and stuff and the pumps.
Well, that's a
little different.
high contact
Right,
area.
right. Yeah, I don't have a problem with that. Okay. Do you get that, Beth?
Should encourage all employees, all businesses selling food and beverage and beverages to encourage all employees and customers to wear facial coverings and refrain from offering any self-serve food and beverage of any kind at all locations.
That's good.
Okay? Number 7, in the event that a business has carts for use by its customers, all employees expected to move such carts should be offered personal protective equipment in order to ensure their safety, and all carts should be cleaned and sanitized on a frequent basis. Additionally, businesses should frequently clean and sanitize all, quote, high-touch surfaces, end quote, which includes point-of-sale touchscreens and gas pump handles. I'm okay with that.
On a frequent basis, Biggs. I mean, I really think if it's a cart you're going to be putting groceries into, it ought to be
Every cart should be
sanitized
clean.
prior to every use.
Yes, I agree.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah,
So at the end of line 3, all carts should be cleaned and sanitized
Prior to each use.
prior to each use.
And in fact, I think we requested, or we basically, as we checked out, we made sure that the cart we had was the one that the
you had
sacker,
sanitized,
the sacker used to put our groceries into, because sometimes they'll,
yeah. Take another cart.
yeah.
Yeah, Aldi's quit doing that.
Yeah, I think Kroger has too.
All right. You use
I've been doing that for years at Kroger. They have all those nice wipes.
wipes.
First thing I do when I walk into Kroger is grab a wipe and just wipe
Clean it
off
up.
the cart. You know, that's been a nice service that certain supermarkets have been provided for years. Prior to each use, nice amendment. Number 8, all gas stations should post in a conspicuous place at all gas pumps signs that direct customers to sanitize their hands prior to and after use. That's pretty specific. How about ATMs? All touchy places. How about every door to every hardware store?
Yep.
I mean, why
If you got hand
gas?
sanitizer, just carry it with you all the time.
What about every pet food store? Why so specific?
I think they had in mind something
Well-
else. It came out a little more general than probably they.
They wanted, gas stations have been a problem, and in the pumps, you know, the people, and you get a lot of traffic through there, and
There's a big difference. It's really a wide variety all over the world.
world, yeah, and they're
United
trying to, and it's an area, I know in one of their things, they said every 60 minutes, you know, to clean them. Well, to me, that's way too long between there, that, you're right, they should have something there that when you're finished, you should wipe it off right at that time, really. But it's then the ability to be able to acquire the material to even be able to do that. In some cases, as we know, trying to buy wipes as well as the alcohol, you can't get it yet in some cases.
I mean, if they don't sell sanitizer in their convenience stores inside, I guess I'm just kind of bothered by the specificity of number 8.
Well, in reality, beforehand might be a little difficult to do, but really, if you pump gas, you ought to either sanitize your hands or go in the store and wash your hands after doing that, really. Because you're touching a pump handle that's been handled by a lot of people.
Same thing when you walk into any retail outlet.
Yeah, well, you talked about ATM machines. Well, you should have your gloves on. You should be punching the numbers with your gloves on if you go to an ATM machine and not your finger.
That, and then you get in your car with your dirty gloves and, you know, there's no,
Well, there's no end. There is no end as you try and I think sometimes we do the best we can do and try and make people aware, and that's what I think a lot of this is, to make people aware, to be more cognizant of the surfaces that you're touching, and to clean your hands the same as when you get home from the grocery store, or wash your hands and throw your boxes and stuff away, and wash your fruit and vegetables that you get before you put them up.
Well, and yeah, it's not just fruit and vegetables. I mean, the contamination on packaged goods
Well,
too.
that's why I said you throw them all away, all the packaged part, and, you know, everything could be contaminated, so you take precautions on everything you do. Some people will do more than what other folks will do.
I mean,
And now you know how our health department feels about
Right.
all this.
And they're working very hard to try and answer, and they're swamped daily with calls. What about this? What about this? And they're trying to put their best case forward as, folks, here's what you need to do. And currently at this time, over the next 3 or 4 weeks, we really need to emphasize everything we have so far. Stay at home and wash your hands, and don't go out if you don't need to, so we can keep our level low like we are right now, that we don't get a big surge here. And
perhaps we should just, look at this from 50,000 feet. I mean, that's, the gas station gas pump is 5 feet. Let's step back 50,000 feet. Should we really be looking at an joint executive order from the city of Richmond and Wayne County government? Perhaps there should be a point in here that maybe is a little more global.
you can't get much more global than all gas stations. That includes everybody.
Well, you know what I'm saying. Urge.
And really, I see nothing. I'll admit I've pumped gas, and I haven't seen anything really at the gas stations that really say anything at all.
Oh, I
about,
have.
I haven't.
You don't get out in the
I don't know.
provinces.
I'm in town.
The
yeah.
Country Mart at 8th and
South 8th today.
had a sign suggesting that patrons should use their blue towels to handle the
Right.
Very good.
the
very good.
dispenser, but it didn't say anything about hand
Yeah.
sanitizer.
But
But
that's
they
good.
can't get it to sell it, so they're saying use these towels.
Well, that's good. That's very good. Keeps you, that's excellent suggestion. Well,
I guess I'm
don't-
looking for a Queen Elizabeth kind of a message here.
I guess I look at 8 and I don't see it, it just says, hey, we suggest you do this. I mean, it's just like, when we finish here, take our hand wipes and wipe our hands, that you can't do it enough.
It's
And,
more of an awareness.
It's more, right, and that's what I see on this, that it makes people think, well, I hadn't thought about that, the towel, that's a great idea, Ron, so about the towel and using the pump handle. But, maybe another person hadn't thought about that, or where they go to the filling station, they don't have a sign that says that. But once they hear about it, they might say, hey, that's a good idea.
What I'd like to see is a whereas clause. Said we recognize how this affects the lives of the citizens of Richmond and Wayne County, but they're essential in protecting the health and well-being. You see what I'm saying, Ken?
Well,
They have that on the third one from the bottom.
Yeah, it covers them, yeah, it does.
Yeah, the lead is buried. You see what I'm saying? The lead is buried right in there. All this business about Alex Azar and all this other stuff is superfluous and unnecessary. I think, that's the message I'd really like to see conveyed. The World Health Organization and all these other whereas clauses, I would like to delete all those and just have whereas Wayne County, Indiana, the city desire to protect the health of all citizens, to slow the rate of transmission and the debilitating demands placed on local health deliveries.
I still want to leave the whereases to the attorneys, that if they feel they need to put that in there and cover it, then I understand what you're saying. Let's cut to the chase and say, hey, wash your hands, stay at home. If you touch surfaces, wash your hands. I understand all of that,
Can we
but
just send a message back, consider reducing the volume of whereas clauses?
Yeah, I'm not sure all are necessary. I think part of them just buttress the notion that there has been.
Okay, yeah, the Board of
a local
Commissioners and
disaster.
Executive Clear Local Disaster.
Well, I think the key to your authority is derivative from the second whereas, and that relates to what the governor has done.
right.
Okay, but
I'm not
Alex
sure, I'm not sure
Azar-
you really care about the World Health Organization. I mean, you may care about it, but I'm not sure the whereas establishing what it has done, and those are the Health and Human Service
We
agencies.
care about the governor.
See, I'm happy to leave.
The
it
governor,
up to-
yeah, I think if you look at the emergency response
It
in
would.
Title 10, there are certain predicates that have to happen before the local political subdivision has authority to act. And you are the local political subdivision.
See, what
Right.
I would say fine, if the two attorneys can cut a couple whereases out, I don't have a problem with that. I'm more concerned with the other 9 items that are on here,
Well,
that's,
and the reality is, Joe Q. Public is probably not going to get past the first page anyhow.
you're right. They're gonna look where it changed, they're not gonna read all those whereases. And, but it gives our public health department,
It gives
it
them
gives
some,
the mayor what they need to be able to do what they're gonna do.
Okay,
So I would say with that, we'd allow the two attorneys to look at the whereases, and with the corrections that we made throughout the 9 different items.
there's a typo in the third whereas clause, we'll correct, to take out the word "the" before "of." Second line.
I am not hearing Ron at all.
Ron said in one of the whereases, there's a typographical error,
We'll correct it.
and he'll correct it.
Best you're going to redo a revised copy. You don't have it, like, I don't either. I'll see if I can find it.
Okay.
the third whereas clause?
Third from the bottom.
Oh, third from the bottom.
No, all right, so you got the, yeah, all right. Ron's gonna correct the word, Denny.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm not sure I got all the language in.
Me either, I was taking notes, but I wasn't.
So I move that
Number
we
6, I have
send
no
this
idea.
back to the mayor and the health department with the following
Recommendation.
intact.
Mary Ann, what was the language you wanted to add in paragraph 6? Because I don't think I got that down.
All businesses selling food and beverages encourage all employees and customers to wear facial coverings and should refrain from offering any self-serve food and/or
Or
beverage of any kind at all locations.
All businesses selling food and beverage should encourage all customers and
Employees and
employees.
customers
Okay.
to wear facial coverings and should refrain from offering any self-serve food
Back on.
and/or beverage of any kind at all
Okay.
locations. It was just the insertion of,
Would it help if you would use the term ready to eat? Does that clarify anything?
I can tell you what the health department wants to do is they want to shut those down, period. That's what they want to do.
Just pop in and grab something.
Yeah, they think that's causing problems.
Well,
well,
that's why Kroger and their deli, some of their delis.
They've just closed it.
Closed them. So, I mean, I think ready to eat is really what they are getting at.
Yeah.
but the problem is that's what's keeping truckers on the road. that's what truckers live on. Those sandwiches and hot dogs and that ready-to-eat and truck stops.
Well, this is an emergency, Mary Ann. This is not every day, and there's other things truck drivers can do to eat. We can't address every situation.
At the truck stop, for example, you could drive through the drive-through and get your food, because they all have a drive-through at the truck stop. So they're not denied food, they just can't go in and handle it and stuff.
Well, you can't really drive through with your rig.
Well,
No, but anymore, if they walk up to the drive-through window, they get served. They know they're truck drivers.
Well, I think this being a should, not a shall, is sufficient for
Yeah,
now.
I do too. I agree.
Let's see, that was number 6. Number 2, unchanged. Number 3 stops with the words, "All social and country clubs are to be closed." Number 4, unchanged. Number 5, unchanged. Number 6, we have reviewed.
What does it say, Mary Ann, one more time?
Number 6 reads, "All businesses selling food and beverages."
you want self-serve in there, don't you?
Are,
Well, the first time I had it reading,
Encourage all employees.
are encouraged. Okay. Are encouraged to
okay, I had it.
have all employees and customers wear
wear
facial coverings
And
and to refrain from offering any.
should refrain
Should
from.
refrain.
And should refrain from offering any ready-to-eat food and/or beverages of any kind.
So
At all
replace
locations.
Self-serve with ready to
Don't
eat.
take out self-serve. Leave
Self-
that self-serve in there.
Self-serve food. Yeah, self-serve is those donuts and hot dogs.
Right.
That's right.
And coffee and, get your, how are they gonna serve coffee? Oh. That's labor intensive if you can't serve your own coffee.
They won't, you'll have to go to the drive-through again.
Right.
Those truck stops don't have drive-throughs.
Yeah, they do.
Well,
A lot of, well, some of them may not, but a lot of them do, yeah. See, even the other night, they mentioned I-70, and the fact that we were having more cases along I-70, and it's due to the traffic and the truck traffic and stuff on I-70.
More cases, you mean out of 16?
Well, they were talking in generalities, the whole I-70, however you want to call it,
Corridor?
corridor, that's the word I was thinking of, I-70 corridor, yeah.
All businesses selling food and beverages are encouraged to have all employees and customers to wear facial coverings and to refrain from offering any self-serve food and/or beverages of any kind at all locations. Got that?
Is it and to refrain or should refrain? I've heard it.
And should refrain, should refrain. Yeah,
so
you
we're
just-
taking ready to eat out?
Well, it was never in. So it was my big mouth.
Self-serve food was in, but
Gotcha,
not ready,
gotcha.
ready to eat, yeah.
Yeah, self-serve is good, because people reaching in for donuts is not a good thing. Number 7 has this minor correction. Line 3, should be cleaned and sanitized prior to each use, period. Number 8 unchanged, number 9 unchanged. And then ask the lawyers to possibly abbreviate some whereas clauses.
Okay, Take
I
a
move
motion
for
to send this
approval as
forward.
amended.
Okay, Jenny?
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Burns,
Aye.
Mrs. Butters,
Aye.
Mrs. Powell.
Aye. Passed. All right. Beth, anything else?
No.
Steve, anything else come up? Ron? Mary Ann?
No.
Okay. We'll adjourn by
You can
general
wait.
consent.